I was, blaming AEW for feeding you chicken shit, knowing you mindless millennials would be eating it up as if it were chicken salad, when it's really been your fault all along.
Make chicken salad out of chicken shit. People is as people does, that's all there is to it. Put a square peg in a round hole, just never seems to fit. And you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit.
Hello and welcome to Wrestle Radio Australia's live post-show for PWA's Summer of Fudge. I am Lachlan Albert and I am here with the best manager ever, Todd Eastman. Toddy, how you doing tonight, mate?
Incredibly frustrated, but I'll be fine. We'll get through this. We'll get through it.
We are having some technical difficulties with delay and stuff, folks. So if the show seems a little bit off kilter tonight, that's why. We do apologize. But the thing we're here for is PWA's Summer of Fudge. The show ended within the last half an hour, and we were there watching it live on Fight TV, where you will be able to get the replay.
Give us a break, Courtney.
Yeah. So if you're interested in watching what we talked about, if you didn't watch it live, head on over to fight.tv, search for Pro Wrestling Australia or PWA. You'll be able to find all of their recent events there available for you to purchase and stream, as well as this event we just watched. Before we get into it, are there any overall vibes of the show, Todd?
Look, it was a good, wrestling-wise, it was a good show. Storyline-wise, I have no idea where we're going from here.
Yeah, it's definitely a show where a lot of the in-between the ropes action was excellent, and the next match is what I'm a little bit confused about. Shout out to Kelly in the chat for giving some shout out to Todd there on his journey. Look, let's go from the top of the card and we can talk about it. And I think we'll kind of see why we've got question marks about the ongoing storyline, as well as talking about just how good some of these matches were. So the opening match had Mick Moretti and Jimmy Townsend, Jimmy becoming Mick's protege now. And they defeated the SMS tag team of Reese Angels and former Babe. Please remind me of the name, Todd, because I'm going blank.
Carter Deems,
thank you. Mick Moretti and Jimmy Townsend coming out on top of this one after Mick threw a chair in the ring to encourage Jimmy Townsend to use it while distracting the referee. Jimmy refused, got hit with a move, and then the chair got picked up by Deems. Then the ref saw it, and it was the old finish of referee disqualifying the person who didn't have the chair in the style of Eddie Guerrero. So Mick and Jimmy coming out on top of this, but it's clear that there is a little bit of miscommunication there as far as Jimmy not being willing to go to the extremes that Mick was, and Mick bringing back some of that, nation's sensibility. What did you think of this one, Todd?
Yeah, like you said, it's very much in the same vein of the show they did before, where it was Jimmy Townsend. Like Mick wrestled before, did the Eddie Guerrero spot for the finish. Then Jimmy wrestled the next match straight after it. Mick tried to get him to cheat and he wouldn't do it. So they're just that part is continually sort of like continuing through. It'll be interesting to see as we go on if Jimmy starts sort of like embracing this more or really pushes back on Mick.
Yeah, I also think that it's interesting because of the fact that they didn't lose because of the miscommunication. They still came out on top. So it doesn't, justify Mick in being upset about it because they won the match without the cheating. So why is it reliant on the cheating? It's an interesting...
Because Mick is trying to teach him. He's trying to teach him that this is the way you win all the time.
Yeah, he's trying to teach him the lesson of what is it? Win if you can, lose if you must, but always
cheat. Exactly.
That's the way. So, yeah, and look, it's Moretti and Townsend and the Angel and Deems. They're all good talent. You know, there's no surprise to hear that Mick Moretti can wrestle. And I really liked when there was a little bit of synergy between Townsend and Moretti, and they were doing, you know, stereo suplexes and that kind of stuff. It looked really good. So I do hope that this storyline goes somewhere and it's not just in a holding pattern. And hey there, Randy in the chat. By the way, anyone who's not listening to this live and listening to the recording afterwards, make sure you follow us on twitch.tv/WrestleRadio Australia, which is where we do all of these live chats where you can get in the conversation. And if you are in the chat, make sure you hit that follow button so you get notified every time that we go live. And if you can, subscribe, support the show, all of that good stuff. Let's move on to the next match then, which was Unsocial Jordan defeating Tuckman in a match that was definitely a bit of a goofier one here. Unsocial Jordan's really good at filling that role of being a comedy heel in the way that he's the straight man and everyone wants to see the goofy baby face get one over on him. So in this match, it was Tuckman who was on the beers. He had the classic drink a beer and Hulk up Popeye style moment, and a moment where he poured some beer into the mouth of Unsocial Jordan, who, you know, had the big comedy reaction. Jordan is so good in this spot. He's technically really, really sound. He's got a gimmick that's really easy to hate, and it makes perfect fodder for a goofy good guy to come in and go, hey, be goofy. And Unsocial Jordan goes, no, I will not be goofy. And then the good guy forces him to do a goofy thing and the crowd cheers. It's great. You can't go wrong with it. And Tuckman here, I think, did a reasonably good job for someone we haven't seen a lot of.
Yeah, it was a really, really good introduction into the character of Tuckman. Like, for a guy that hadn't really been on any of these fight live streams before, they gave a real impression as to what this character is, what this gimmick is going to be going forward. And Jordan is probably the perfect foil to have out there when you've got a gimmick like Tuckman, who is very like anti what Jordan is. So he was the perfect foil, and because he's such a good worker, is able to help out and fill in any deficiencies that Tuckman might have as just coming out of being a green dingo, really, really helping him embrace his character. Like, not just the whole thing that I always talk about on our other shows, the moves between the moves really helps with that. Like, because that's Jordan's really good at that. And so to be able to help a young guy, a young worker like Tuckman in saying, maybe do this, and we can have a fight over the beer. And then while we're having that fight over the beer, you can crack it open and then pour it into my mouth, because that will get a huge reaction from the crowd, which it did. Yeah, I thought it was a great debut for the guy and the perfect person to have him debut with.
And it also means that Tuckman losing this match doesn't hurt him. It really doesn't hurt to lose to a guy like Unsocial Jordan, who very recently was in the PWA title picture. You know what I mean? Like, he's a guy who is well established, who knows what he's doing, and lots of people have lost to Unsocial Jordan. It doesn't make you a bad wrestler. And Kelly in the chat agreeing with us, a great debut for Tuckman. Following this, we had a first round match in the PWA Premiership. Now, the Premiership previously has been a singles competition, but this year it's a tag team Premiership. And there was a lot of storyline going into this match, with MK Plus Ultra coming up against the team of Cherry Stevens and Belle Pierce representing PPK. So this is an interesting one where PPK as a team have previously been eliminated from the PWA Premiership, but was still looking to be represented, and held auditions, which led to Cherry Stevens coming in and auditioning. Obviously, Cherry Stevens, Soul of PWA champion, got a lot of momentum at the moment, and Belle Pierce of SMS campaigning against PPK. PPK took the opportunity to team the two of them up to get another shot for the fraternity in the Premiership, which led this unlikely duo up against MK Plus Ultra. They did quite a good job of telling a story here where Belle Pierce was a heel on the face team quite well, because obviously people are going to cheer for Cherry. They want Cherry to win, even if that means Belle Pierce winning, who they don't necessarily like. And the way that story was told was by Belle Pierce doing her best to hold her own, but refusing to make the tag to Cherry Stevens. And this ended up costing them the match because MK plus Ultra are a tag team who work together and execute as a team. So Belle and Cherry eliminated from the premiership there, as I understand it. But the bit I don't understand. So sorry, I'll get positives out of the way first. The storytelling in the ring with that was really excellently done. Cherry and Belle are both really good at that style of storytelling, and MK plus Ultra are great at being really quick when the match needs to be quick and slowing down when a story is getting told. And they did that really well here. All four of these are also great in the ring. All four of these wrestlers. I am a huge lover of MK plus Ultra. I've said it before. I think they are just unreal. I think they're super underappreciated for just how good they are. So yeah, I thought that was really good. I was a little bit confused about why we have so much story leading into this, and then Pierce and Stevens just lose. That's the question marks.
That's what we talked. Like we talked about this off air when we were trying to work out our internet issues. We ended up doing like just a quick little like pre-talk about this.
Shocker, we can't stop ourselves from talking about wrestling.
Yeah, like I said to you, what I didn't get is on the last show that Kai Drake lost to Cherry. Then Kai Drake got on the microphone and said, "If you beat me, you beat Michael, you would not beat us as a tag team. Go and find a partner and try and beat us." And she did, and they didn't. Sort of like that's like logical storytelling would tell you she would find a partner and they would somehow lock themselves into beating MK plus Ultra, which is an amazing team, which is, do you know what I mean? Which is a big boost for them, because then you've got the unlikely duo constantly going further in this premiership, fighting each other at the same time, but still getting a victory out of nowhere. That's, to me, that's a cool story. Even if you have them lose in the semis eventually, because say Belle finally turns on Cherry because she wants that belt that Cherry has. Doesn't really care about the premiership in the end because she wants a shot at that belt.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's a lot of potential in storyline for that team. And like Randy has said in the chat, hoping that Cherry doesn't get stuck in a Belle Pierce SMS feud. I really think there's a lot of meat on the bone here that they spent the time setting up. And I really hope it's not just discarded, but I also hope they don't waste the momentum that they've got by just going, this is the feud, and it ends in Cherry versus Belle. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They're sort of like, they've sort of handballed the MK plus Ultra off to SMS in a way.
Yeah.
And another thing too, like I don't understand, and like you can help me if you can tell me why. Like Cherry's already in a group. So why did she go to the audition?
But I mean, in saying that,
I know she was she was protesting it, and they got talked into it, and that's a way around it. But still,
but also like Jude London was in the audition, right?
Yeah,
so like,
exactly.
Like clearly, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
You know, and unfortunately, missing the chance to see our boy there as part of PPK, but you know, what are you going to do? Look, moving on from that, we had a nice big promo segment where Shazza McKenzie came out, continuing her quest to destroy the nations, and Jack Bonza came out and had some very firm language for her in telling her to have a match where if she wins, she can say that she broke up the nations, and if she loses, she may never wrestle in PWA again, and to get the names of the nations out of her mouth. As Bonza left
out of her
the ring,
what mouth? Out of her what mouth?
I'm not going to repeat it here.
Say that.
But yeah, intense words there from Bonza. And as he left the ring, Lyrebird Lucci surprise attacked Shazza, getting the advantage to eventually defeat Shazza McKenzie by count out when her feet got held outside the ring by Bonza. So we kind of are a little bit aware that Shazza has been planning for a while to go do some stuff in the US, and that's excellent for her. And if this is a way for her not to be in PWA, then good for her. I think that Lucci is so good. And the fact that he once again gets to benefit from saying, oh, I beat this person, I kicked this person out of the company, when everyone was able to see that he didn't beat her, Bonza held her feet and there was a count out, right?
Yeah.
Great for his character. Absolutely wonderful as a chicken shit heel. On top of that, it gives Bonza a ruthlessness. He comes out, he calls someone the C word, and then cheats to keep him from getting back in the ring, so they're gone forever, and then jaw-jocks into the camera about how Bullet Club's the best. Really puts over that he is a jerk who is embracing the Bullet Club lifestyle, gives the chicken shit element to Lucci while also showing that he can wrestle. Yeah, I'm very positive about this match on the card.
Yeah, like there was nothing wrong with the match. Wasn't a massive fan of the finish, only because the referee could clearly see Bonza holding her out. And like, as someone who works primarily ringside, I like to disguise that. So if that was me planning that match, I would have had Bonza try to stop her drop Bonza to the ground. When she walks past Bonza to try to get into the ring, Bonza's on the ground, holds her feet. Referee can't see it, keeps counting to 10.
Yep.
That's how I would have done it. But it was sort of like the referee was watching both of them and him holding her and then still counting, which I don't know where, like, I don't know in whatever, any other match that would be allowed to keep happening.
No rule that
I mean?
says dogs can't play basketball, Todd. Like, is it...
Okay, bud.
Like, I guess it's interference, so that's a DQ win from that, I guess. Like, it's... Yeah,
well, it's not even like the referee would just like admonish Bonza and tell him to leave her alone. You don't have to throw him out straight away or DQ. But the referee just goes, you keep doing that and I'll DQ you.
I guess the other thing that I wasn't a super big fan of was the way that the match ends. Obviously, it's you got to have the bad guys cheat to win, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a way to do it. But
yeah,
I feel like the stakes were so high, and then the finish happened really quickly, and it wasn't set up, and it feels like it leaves unfinished business for Shazza, which I guess is probably what they want, so that she has the opportunity to come back in the future. If, she's done some stuff in the US and she wants to come and make an appearance at PWA, they want her to have something to do. And I get that. But I guess if it was me, what I would have loved is if it was on the outside, Bonza was blocking her way back into the ring, and she just throws the elbow into Bonza and just starts beating on him. And that's when the 10 count happens. And it makes it more, her motivation to get back at Bonza is what causes her to lose the match, rather than just Bonza being a dick. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But then she's still losing because Bonza was a dick, because what he said to her pissed her off so much that she was more worried about him than actually going in and wrestling Lucci.
Yeah. See, the thing that was hard about this, really going into it, is that both Shazza and Bonza fairly heely.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Like, did you feel the same way? Like,
yeah, the kind of
she was a little bit of a heel.
Yeah, the Heartbreak Core character of Shazza McKenzie after the Hardcore character has been a very heel version of it. You know, she's been breaking up the Nations, who, despite being heels, are one of the best loved teams in PWA. Mick Moretti's a perennial face when he, you know, doesn't need to be a heel for some reason. And so going against that big beloved team, taking the darker attitude, I think it like she is in heel mode. And then Lucci
Well, no,
and
she sort
Bonza
of
are
cut.
both clearly heels.
Yeah, and she sort of cut a heel promo before he came out anyway. It was sort of like they had to out heel each other.
Yeah. Yeah, fully agree with that. Look, this is an ongoing conversation on this podcast about is heel v heel effective? I think here it was handled reasonably well because you're right that Shazza is feeling like a heel at the moment. But if she's going to... Todd's right. If Shazza's being a heel, then you don't want to put her against a face and have the face kick her out of the company unless she's in super heel mode, but then you can't give her credit for the things she's done in PWA. Like, it's an interesting tightrope to walk, and I think they handled it quite well.
Yeah. Yeah, like, again, there was nothing wrong with the match, and Lucci is amazing with what he done. I don't know if I wouldn't have maybe, and it's nothing against Lucci, it was great having him in the match and all of that. Why wouldn't you bring out Ugg after she's agreed to it?
Yep. Yeah.
Because Ugg's part of the she's like, okay, yeah, I've agreed to that, fine. Next thing, okay, you're not, the fight's not with me, it's with this guy, Caveman Ugg. Because then, even though people might not like her, might be still like, she's a heel, the odds are then insurmountable when you're talking about someone like Ugg coming in against her as opposed to someone like Lucci.
Yeah.
Lucci's a great worker. There's nothing against Lucci at all. I'm just saying, like, visually, the crowd wouldn't be able to help but support her.
And there's history there as well if you're doing Shazza Ugg. I guess the big part of that just being that Ugg lives in Melbourne now. So you're looking at having him fly up for that. And then if anyone spots the giant man, you know, you wonder what's going on. But yeah, look, I think you're absolutely right. But I also think that what they did was pretty good. So I'm okay with it. Moving on was the big international match of the show, Robbie Eagles and Everett Connors. Everett Connors being, you know, a bit of an up-and-coming name, but really held his own against Robbie Eagle, pulled out some insane moves there, including the rope-assisted pile driver that I love so very much when our boy Mitch Ryder does it up here in Queensland. Robbie Eagles is, of course, one of the best workers in the world. The guy's absolutely fantastic. Everett really pulled out some impressive stuff here. I wanted more emotion from Everett Connors. I know that that's like kind of part of the gimmick, is he's very cool. He's not too fazed by things in almost an Orange Cassidy way. But it made me be totally disconnected from him as a character. I didn't want to hate him because there's nothing to hate. I didn't want to support him because there's nothing to support. Obviously, I love Robbie, so I just want Robbie to win. But that doesn't mean that I felt anything towards Everett Connors. And I love his work. I just really want I would describe it as not having a fifth gear in terms of the flow of a match, right? He's got the opening of the match is great. Then it builds up and it builds up and he's got the moves. And then I want it to be emotional. I want to get that hit of either come on Everett or come on Robbie. But it doesn't come because he's such a blank slate. So I really want there to be that fifth gear for him.
Yeah, see, that's the difference with him and with, like you said, like the Orange Cassidy gimmick. When Cassidy fires up, he fires up. And so you get that. And it's very rare it happens. So when it happens, it really works in the match, if that makes sense. It was like the way I could describe it again is like he's technically really good, emotionally disconnected.
Yeah.
Like, great worker in the ring, great bumper, like bumped really well for Robbie off those chops. Like, sold everything really well. Sold the what's the finish called?
The
sub finish.
the special.
Yes, the special.
Yeah.
The special.
The special,
Yeah.
the special.
Yeah. The Ron Miller.
Ron Miller
special. There you go. Sold that really well when they did the falsie to get to the ropes. Like, all of that was really, really good. There just seemed to be some sort of an emotional disconnect. And I know it's probably hard because of the way his gimmick is, and also the fact he's against Robbie, and Robbie's so loved. And what was he? Was he a heel? It was hard to tell, really, because, like I said, emotionally disconnect. There wasn't really anything at the start of the match that set him up going, okay, this guy's a cocky prick, or this guy just doesn't give a fuck, because they just sort of went straight into the match.
Yeah, exactly. Fully agree. And we can't speak highly enough about Robbie.
No,
what a guy, what a
amazing.
wrestler. I just can't be any more positive about Robbie Eagles at any given moment. So with that said, moving on to a match that I wasn't expecting to enjoy quite as much as I did. Bachman versus Ben Braxton in one of the surely most difficult matches to commentate ever. This one was hard-hitting, two big, beefy men slapping meat, with Braxton eventually coming out on top. It was hard-hitting. It was quick. It was intense. I thought this was a really good match.
Yeah, I loved it. Like, you know that Back Pain is probably one of my favorite tag teams in PWA, not named Velocities. Do you know what I mean? they're probably my favorite tag team in PWA. So I love that style, because they do that style very well. It's a style that can be, like, I was talking about this today with the promoter of Pro League, because we were talking about different people that you put in tag teams and sort of stuff like that. And he was like, oh, do you like, because I suggested two really big guys tagging up. And he was like, oh, so did you like Authors of Pain or that? And I said, no, I didn't. I didn't like them at all, because I just thought they were too dominant, too one way. Like, I don't like Viking Raiders, but I loved them when they were the War Machine.
War Machine, yeah.
Because of the way they worked. And that's the way I feel Back Pain work. Back Pain work a lot like War Machine and not like Viking Raiders, and that's why I like them. And Ben Braxton, when I did the last PWA post show here, waxed philosophy on how good he was for about 20 minutes. So that goes without saying. Bachman has got a hell of a future if they end up beside Jack Payne and him don't want to tag anymore. He's got a hell of a future. He's a massive dude, very agile, shows that emotion that we talked about that Everett Connors doesn't, that he has that in bucket loads. Intensity, the pounce, like both of these guys for different reasons. Like, I think the difference is that when Ben Braxton does it, it's effortless.
Oh yeah.
He has that connection as soon as he walks out. He just has that thing, that it. He has the airport, the stop in an airport look. Like, you see that guy walking out, he's somebody. Even though you don't know who he is, you look at him going, he's somebody.
Yeah, he's somebody.
That's what Ben, it's very different, but I think that Bachman has a massive future if he decides to go eventually into the singles. I don't want him to, because I love Back Pain. I think that they are underused in PWA at the moment, but hopefully that changes, because there are so many good teams in PWA. So I understand it's hard to break through to that upper echelon. But that being said, if they ever stop, Bachman's got a massive future as a singles competitor.
Oh, absolutely.
Great match between the two of them as well.
Yeah, and like, you see a guy like Braxton pull out a moonsault from the apron to the floor, right? After leaping over the top rope. The athleticism is there on top of everything else. We saw Bachman do like an insane, just raw power vertical suplex from the ground. If I'm going to be critical, I don't like that flatliner finisher. The for getting the arm around, and when it's two big guys, it looks really awkward to me.
Yeah, I think that the swanton should be his finish.
Oh yeah,
Because
because
that
when you
looks
see
great.
a dude that big hit a swanton that nice, oh, superb. I like that he's got a middle of the ring finish, like a standing middle of the ring thing. I like that. I don't feel that works exactly, and I just want it to be something a little simpler, you know? Like John Cena got a fireman's carry slam. It's not that difficult, right? So when you start looking for finishes that look unique and you end up, okay, I put your head here, then I put your arm around the back of my neck, and then I grab your shoulder, and then I spin out so that it's just a little too complicated for me, right? I want it to be a power slam. You know what I mean? And if he lifted a guy up, screamed, and then did a power slam, that'd work for me.
It's also one of those things like, and I will say, I will give big props to Chris Gale and Rosie. Great call tonight from these two guys. They pointed out halfway through the match that he wasn't doing all the aerial moves that he was doing against Ricky because this guy has how much power this guy has, and he has to match power with him. I thought that was a great call from those two because it really did point out something that I wasn't even really thinking of at the time until they called it. I've gone, oh yeah, that is very true. That's very good. I like that.
Gale and Rose are world class. Those I know, like I don't shut up about how much I enjoy them on commentary, but as someone who does commentary, every time I watch PWA, I am listening to them to listen to the things they pick up on, the attention they're paying, the way they flow between long-term story and calling the action as it happens, is just excellent. They are really, really wonderful at what they do. I have one other little criticism of this match, and it's that I would have swapped the order on the card between this match and the next match. The reason for that just being that the match after this was a very speedy, high-intensity match with a bit of a crazy finish, and then the main event after that was a big emotional payoff. I feel like this wasn't the perfect match to come back from the intermission on. I think it was really good and it did really well for that spot, but I think the next match would have fit that spot a little better, and I think this match would have fit the next spot a little better. I could be wrong about that. That's just my feeling on the flow.
Yeah, I get it. Because that was the first match after Inter, wasn't it?
It was. So intermission, then back for Braxton versus Backman.
I mean, yeah, it didn't matter. But when you had the matches on the show that you had, it was kind of like you weren't really going to put like Jessica Troy and Velocity straight after that, because that thing was going to go for X amount of time. Do you know what I mean? I think the way they did it is like, well, we'll have these two guys come in. They're big hard hitters. They can do a quick match, really impactful, and that'll get the crowd back into it. And let's face it, that did work. So there are different ways to do that when you're structuring a card. Yep. And like, I really didn't have an issue with that. I thought that was probably a good, when you look at the card and look at your thing, the only thing that I probably see, I look at it and I couldn't even think about who you would have. You look at the card that they had, who would have you have that spot?
Literally, I would have swapped Braxton Backman with Velocities versus Troy and Evans.
Yeah.
That would have been a straight spot for me.
Yeah, but see, you couldn't really do that because that was going to go for 25, 30 minutes. I don't know. Don't ask me how long it went for, but that was going to go for an extended period of time. And when you're doing that coming back from the break, you sort of don't want that. You want something sort of quickish.
Sure.
That gets the crowd back into, we're back into it.
We're back in the flow of the show. Sure.
Yeah. And especially when it's a match with, like, say, Velocity's Jessica Troy, that's a big names, big story. The crowd won't be necessarily heads back into it just yet. So it's a sort of like
that's
you introduce them a little bit, and then the next match is, okay, now it's the title match. That's the way I see it anyway.
There you go. See, sometimes I'm wrong so that Todd can teach us about the way wrestling works. Speaking of, the match after this was the Velocities versus Jessica Troy and Charlie Evans. For the Velocities, I believe it's the ASCA Tag Team Championships that they hold from Italy. Once again, I will say that this was the Velocities versus Jessica Troy and Charlie Evans. So from that, you probably know how good this match was.
Yeah.
Wowza. Sorry, I'll quickly address Randy in the chat, who said, did they announce future shows? They did announce that the next show will be in early May, I believe, about May 2nd will be the PWA Rumble returning. So that's always a really exciting show. Can't wait for that. That'll be great. But yeah, Velocities versus Troy and Evans. Troy and Evans got a cool tag team remix to their theme songs, with Troy's music slowed down to lead into the vocals of Charlie's theme song. The two teams just went at it. Yeah, take it, Todd.
It was funny because I was setting this up while the entrance was happening, and I literally had to come back to the computer because I thought there was something wrong with my computer, because I was like, what is wrong with her music? Because they did the remix. Great show, like great match. These four have probably worked each other so much in the past that you knew walking in that these guys were going to pull out something great, and that they didn't disappoint. Great match. Great. This is what, like, when you hear people argue against intergender wrestling, you show them something like this, because they didn't do anything that was like, that wouldn't make you believe that like, you wouldn't not believe Charlie could do some of the stuff she did to the Velocities. Same with Jess, because Jess is an amazingly smart worker, amazing wrestler, one of the best in the country. They're so smart about it that it was just four wrestlers having a wrestling match and doing believable things, believable moves to each other. And that's what I love about wrestling. I love wrestling when it is done right. And I know I've been, like, lately on my Twitter, I've been rallying against certain spots that have been just, in my opinion, fucking stupid. This was none of that. This was just all smart. It was just all, yes, it is logical that I could do this to you. It's logical that you could do this to. It's logical that she could finish anyone with an armbar, because in real life you can finish anyone with an armbar.
Yep.
It's just I love the fact that during their promos, the Velocities had a little bit of a death match dig at Charlie to get a bit of fucking bit of emotion into this thing, get a bit of real like, I'm looking for the words, real, so like a visceral feeling going into this. So they were, it wasn't just like happy families, we're going to all shake hands and have a match. They were set to go at each other. And that's again, what I love about wrestling, stakes. Give me some stakes.
Yeah. Just to get, like, I want to be a little more specific about a couple of the things that happened. And if anyone's not following Sir Lariato on Twitter, you're missing out, because the dude can make GIFs at a speed that is ungodly. And he was live GIFing this show. And from the start of this match to the end of it is just nonstop. It's Charlie Evans doing a double stack German suplex to both of the Velocities. Then it's, a double team move, a high and low from the Velocities on Charlie. Then it's a destroyer from Jess Troy. Then it's a gory bomb into a Fujiwara armbar. Then this is the one I want to specifically talk about. Jude London did a top rope rebound stunner thing. And when I saw it at first, it looked like it didn't quite go right. It looked like they kind of fell into the wrong place a little bit. Watching the GIF of it over and over, it actually just looks like the most disgusting, brutal stunner that's ever been delivered. And he flew about 12 feet in the air to do it. Absolute insanity. I don't know what more we can say about this match other than the ending, which is Will Keatis running in, and just beating the tar out of everyone and having it end in a no contest, which I don't know if there's another way to end this match on this show. You know, because this is the kind of match where if there's a definitive ending to this match, it's a main event. I think it's that simple.
Yeah. But it's also the fact that I know, like, we don't really talk about this a lot. It's also the fact that sometimes there's some matches where I can't have any of these people lose.
Yeah.
Sort of shit. I know, but I can't have any of these people lose. It's sort of like there was a time back in the day that when we booked Brooksy, you couldn't have him lose. He just wasn't allowed to lose. It was sort of like with back in the okay. Here's a better explanation. Back when Robbie Eagles had the junior heavyweight tags, he just specifically wasn't allowed to lose from New Japan. Like you can work anywhere you want. We just can't have you do that. So you have to think of inventive ways to do it. Luckily, Will Keatis had that thing where the ongoing sort of thing with Jess. So it was easy to be able to weave that in. And I know it's sort of like not the best way to end a match, but sometimes it's just how you have to end some stuff.
Yeah, and I agree, because the other thing it does is it makes me want to see the match again. You know what I mean? I feel like there's unfinished business. I feel like we can go again, and I don't feel like I didn't get my money's worth from the match, because they went for a long match with a lot of stuff in it that was super watchable start to finish. But if they were then to run it back and do it again, I'd want to see it again, because we don't have a conclusive ending. I think it's really well done. You definitely don't want either of those teams to lose. Yeah, just great stuff. Really good stuff. Here's the stuff. Let's watch it. Just insanity. I thought it was brilliant. And again, seeing it live, I was like, oh, Jess fell over. Did they not quite nail it right? But then you see there, she just takes all of it. It's picture perfect. What a good match. Bravo, Sir Lariato, because again, he's doing this live through the show. Awesome stuff. There's someone definitely worth a follow. But this is what I mean. Like, what a watchable match. Every one of these gifts is insane. Yeah. So good. Yeah. So that's and Velocities versus Troy.
You also look at it too, like, it's believable someone like Charlie can, because Velocities aren't exactly the biggest dudes in the world either. So it's believable that she would do that. Here's that other finisher you were talking about.
Yeah,
I don't mind that for finisher because I don't mind that because at least it's different to a normal flatliner. Like, I find a normal flatliner boring as shit, and it's really hard for somebody to sell effectively.
I'd prefer a normal flatliner for that specific situation. That's just me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm happy to, have you disagree. I think that's totally fine. But for me, that variation is just a little bit too much of, I get you here and then I put this here and then I grab here and then I go. I'd love it more if it was just arms over the shoulder, flatliner.
Yeah. No, I understand. Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about the main event. Yeah, that's exactly right. Talking about the main event here, Ricky South versus Big Fudge. So this had a lot going into it. Big Fudge coming off winning the number one contendership for the heavyweight championship at the last show, and Ricky South refusing to give him a title shot, saying he's not worth it. He's a clown. He puts on a mask and he does a silly, jokey act. He is not someone who deserves a shot at the heavyweight championship. And Fudge was determined to prove him wrong. So there was, a lot of emotion going in there. And I think Big Fudge put on an absolute promo masterclass going into this of how you take a goofy character and make it heartfelt and important. And like, this guy needs to win. And that's why I found the match a little disappointing. For a couple of reasons here, right? One, it was just short, which I understand they were trying to get over the fact that Ricky South is a big, powerful wrestling machine, and Fudge is a little guy who punches butts. right? And sometimes the big, powerful wrestling machine is just going to win that match. And Fudge had a
Sometimes
couple
a
of
butt is
moments.
unpunchable.
That's exactly right. And hey, his butt was just unpunchable tonight.
It was unpunchable. It was I can't keep going.
I think that there is such good heel work coming in from Ricky South. The way that he has turned that character into someone pompous and arrogant, and the way he clearly thinks of himself in that character is superb, right?
Yes.
And it made sense why this match was short and why Big Fudge only got a couple of spots where it looked hopeful for him, and the rest of the match was Ricky taking him to school, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm.
But to have so much of that energy, so much of that hope going into the match, and then for him to just kind of lose, it's disappointing, especially because after the match, Fudge went for a handshake, just wanted to be respected as someone who got in there in the heavyweight title scene and got his mask ripped off. And that's a big, impactful moment. But this wasn't a title match. And the whole point was, if he won this, then he gets the title match. So even though he was number one contender, he never gets his title match. He just gets disrespected and his mask ripped off. And I want this so badly to be going somewhere good. I really want this to pay off with him being the next champion. You know what I mean? Which is obviously what they want from this storyline. They want us to be in Fudge's corner. They want us to go, Fudge should be the champion. Fudge can do it. But if they're taking the mask off him, if they're resetting the character to that degree, what's the plan? Does he then have to win a number one contendership again to go up against Ricky and beat Ricky to then get the title match? Because that's a very long path when we just had this match that could have been, I've earned this spot. I can hang with you and win the match, and then have Ricky disrespect him. Say, I still think you're a clown. Rip the mask off. I really want, I don't know. I just feel a little dejected with this outcome.
But maybe, and I know we talked about this before, and I was thinking along the same lines as you completely. But then, the more I think about it, sometimes in life, it doesn't work out that way. Sometimes in life, the big bad guy just wins. It sucks. And maybe this is something where, he's lost his mask now. Who knows? Maybe he just wants to take some time off. Maybe he doesn't want to wrestle anymore. So there was here's a way to do it, and we can get some real good heat on Ricky. On the other hand, here's another way where he could go away for a month or two. Maybe he shows back up at the Rumble, so he's back at the next show as this unmasked character and really starts building some momentum going up. So then eventually he can earn this title shot where there's no way Ricky can turn away from him. And then Ricky's, well, I'm just going to beat the shit out of you like I did last time. But doesn't happen this time because the guy has gone away. He's gone through that old JBL quote, if I smell like smoke, it's because I've been through fire. That type of deal. And that is an age-old babyface tale where the babyface gets so close to that brass ring and then ripped away and sent right back down to the bottom and have to work their way back up again. That's an age-old story. You can tell that if you want. But then also, if he's not going to come back, if he decides he wants to take 6 months off or something, I have no idea about any of these plans. So I have no idea at all. What better way to do it than go, okay, we're going to get some real heat on Ricky right now because there are still some people that kind of like him. How are we going to turn those some people that kind of like him? I know we have Fudge, who's one of the most beloved baby faces in this company. We'll have you beat him and rip his mask off.
I fully 100% agree with everything that you've just said. My only question then is, what part of that couldn't have happened if this was a title match?
Because he never even got the chance. Now,
but by losing, we've shown
he never.
he lost
Go
the
on.
match that was against the champion. Like if he was going to lose anyway, like it wouldn't have made a difference if he'd lost the championship match. I understand what you're saying. He never got the chance. Isn't it worse if he had the chance and he got completely disrespected and shown that, you know, maybe Ricky was right. Maybe he doesn't deserve this spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but if you've got I don't know, do know what you mean. But if you've got a champion as strong as Ricky, do you just have him lose after beating all the people that he's beaten to get that belt? Just have him lose in a non-title match to have to face the guy again the next month, and then eventually probably win that match. Takes something away from this guy who's calling himself the example.
Yeah. I also get that.
That's just me throwing it out there because, like,
as the company goes on, when South gets challenges and just says, "No, you're not fighting for the belt," like that's been established as something that he does. So I get that, but
yeah, exactly.
I feel like this would have had more of a big fight feel and would have been more impactful if there was that moment of getting the belt raised before the match. That's where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's also the fact too that like now it's sort of like there was no real setup for any challenges for next show, so maybe he's not defending the belt at all next show.
Yeah,
maybe that was just the Rumble is going to be part of the thing because the Rumble is for a title shot, and so that being said, isn't the Rumble sort of Fudge's kind of thing?
Yeah.
So
and
couldn't he come in and win
opportunity
this Rumble?
Yeah, absolutely. But again, yeah, I think I would have just liked it to have been a title match, and that's where I'm at. I do hope that Fudge comes back and wins in the Rumble.
Here's another thing too, right? If that was a title match, would you have believed in any way, shape, or form that Fudge was going to win this match?
No, that's a great point.
So when it's a non-title match, you're going, well, he could win this match because the title's not aligned. So they could still have him go over.
Yep. Yeah, that is actually right.
That's why they haven't done that. Because going into it, you would have been like, yeah, he's winning this match. Because that's what I thought. I thought, Fudge is going to win this match.
Fudge is winning.
I'm interested to see how they do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the big bad guy just came in and said, no. Yep. Yeah. No, you've turned me around on that one, Todd. Absolutely agree.
The defense rests, Your Honor.
Hey, look, while we're talking about Oz Wrestling results, Todd, have you seen the results for EPW Gold Rush yet?
No, I have not, sir. I did. I saw one result, but please do.
Do you mind if we quickly run through those?
No, run away, mate.
The EPW Invitational Tournament ended with Michael Morleone defeating Tyler Jacobs to earn a title shot, the Don with the opportunity to cash in. After that, in a six-man tag, Damian Slater, Marcus Pitt, and Jesse Lambert beat the team of Cal Collins, Ryan Rivers, and Cannon Connors. We also had Bruno Nitro defeating Del Cano to retain the EPW Coastal Championship. After that, the EPW and SHWA Tag Team Championships were unified. The Pulse, Jared Slate and Felix Young, lost that match, meaning Davis Storm and Mikey Nichols are the unified tag champions. James Hartness lost to Taylor King. After that, we had the Hit Squad, Lucas Fantasia and Mikey Broderick, defeating 2.5 wrestlers, Bobby Marshall and Dan Moore. And then in the main event, the EPW and SHWA championships were unified, with Julian Ward defeating Chris Target to become the unified champion. Right before the Don, Michael Morleone came back, cashed in his opportunity for a title shot immediately, and defeated Julian Ward to become the unified EPW and SHWA champion, leading to a couple of things that we've got set for the next show, Collision Course, which is on April 15th. That is a tag team match with Davis Storm and Mikey Nichols up against Damian Slater and Marcus Pitt. Wow. And
the Godfather's Brett Neal.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And Chris Lazarus putting his controlling stake of SHWA on the line for a chance of becoming the GM of EPW. So I tell you what, like EPW is they're off to the side sometimes because they're all the way on the other side of the country. But man, when you hear all of the names that are on that setup, and keeping in mind that a lot of this was, co-promoted with SHWA stuff, I think there was a lot of really exciting matches on there, a lot of stuff that I'm really excited to go through and watch, and some exciting stuff coming up at Collision Course as well, with an absolute hell of a tag team lineup there. So that's really exciting. Any thoughts on that, Todd?
Yeah, well, also it's worth noting that all that stuff will be up on their Vimeo channel. I'm not too sure how quickly they get it up there, but they do get them up fairly quickly. So keep your eyes peeled on their social medias, because I'm sure they'll put out when they're out to be watched from around the country. But yeah, EPW have one of the most stacked rosters. Like, you were going through just the names when you were calling out the card, and I was a tad distracted, unfortunately, because there was some
commotion
thinking it was there was someone thinking it was summon outs right in front of my window, so it was throwing me off. But you just go through that roster. I mean, you go through what the tag team match is going to be for that next show, and you got Damian Slater, Marcus Pitt, Davis Storm, Mikey Nichols. Holy shit!
Yeah, that's in one match.
That's just in one match. It's like not spread throughout the card to strengthen the card up, because they don't have to do that.
Yeah, if you wanted, that's 4 good matches where you put them against brooms. You know what I mean? And instead it's in a tag team. That's craziness. Anything else that we're looking forward to on the horizon, Todd?
Yeah, well, later on this week, hopefully between yourself and Mr. Seti, we're going to get together and review the Monday day.
Good old Monday day.
Monday day, the AEW pay-per-view Revolution. We'll probably watch that and review it coming up this week.
Should I run through the card on that straight away?
Yeah, you can do that, because there's something I need to pull up the talks about. So yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so Christian Cage versus Jungle Boy in a no-holds-barred match. I believe that's now become a final burial match. There's going to be a Texas death match between Jon Moxley and Hangman Page. It's going to be Ricky Starks versus Chris Jericho, with the Jericho Appreciation Society banned from ringside. There's an AEW World Trios Championship match between the Elite and the House of Black. There is a 4-way AEW World Tag Team Championship match with the Guns defending against the Acclaimed, Orange Cassidy and Danhausen, and Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. There's a TNT Championship match between Samoa Joe and Wardlow. There's an AEW Women's World Championship match between Jamie Hayter, Ruby Soho, and Saraya. And if that wasn't enough wrestling for you, MJF and Daniel Bryan are going to wrestle over the AEW World Championship for 60 minutes in an Iron Man match. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
Seems like maybe too much.
Well, like I talked about this last night when I did Views from the East. That is an 8-match card. That's not accounting what they're going to have on their 0 hour, because they'll have some more shows on the matches on their 0 hour. That is an 8-match card where one of those matches is guaranteed to go for 60 minutes.
Yep.
So that's a long day. So yeah, it's a
long day.
The one thing I will say is I know that there's been some criticism about the sort of the booking going into this card. Like, not a hell of a lot of long-term stuff, not a lot of, you know what I mean? There's a lot of, but when you look at it, it makes that hard to pick who. There was like 2 or 3 matches on this card, because if you look on our rundown sheet, I've got when I did the thing yesterday, I did put little asterisks against guys who I think is going over in these matches. Now, for a good 2 or 3 of these, I just wasn't sure. Like, it's a good old Toinkos when it comes to it, if you know what I mean. Because you look at it, and Texas Deathmatch could go either way, because you don't know if maybe Moxley's going to take some time off after this, because he's been talking about having time off for how long now?
Yeah,
so maybe you put Hangman over. Yeah, so maybe you put Hangman over on that. I'm pretty sure the Elite won't lose to House of Black, because it would be silly after doing this whole best of 7 to do that. But you look at Wardlow and Samoa Joe. Do you put Wardlow over and just take that belt off Samoa Joe after he just won it back from Darby Allin because you want Samoa Joe to go to Ring of Honor and just defend that TV title over there? Or do you keep him having both those titles and Wardlow sort of comebacks gets sort of cut off right there? So that, to me, that's another a coin toss. You could have either one go through and that's fine. The AEW Women's Championship, look, Jamie Hayter could do it, and I hope she does. She's my pick. I think she will go over and defend that belt. But if for some reason Ruby Soho decides to turn and join with Saraya, you could see Saraya as the new champion. Or you could see Ruby as the champion with Saraya and Tony backing her. So, you know what I mean? Like, as much shit as we give him, and I give Tony Khan a lot of shit about certain things.
We know.
But there are a lot of matches on this card that they're not predictable, which is good. Yeah. That's good. I love, if I go in and if I get 100% right in my tips right now for these matches, I'll be kind of almost disappointed. Yeah. I want something where I go, I didn't think that was going to happen. And the only real problem I had with this whole card was the tag team title match, because they had a better 4-way tag match today.
Yep.
On Rampage. That's my only issue with this card as a whole, is that one match. Everything else, they're all great matches. Yeah. All great matches.
Speaking of great matches, I just want to quickly talk about Renegades of Wrestling, which will be returning on the 17th of this month. So that's Friday in a couple of weeks' time. And the card is absolutely stacked. There's going to be Delta and Chanel Phoenix in a Falls Count Anywhere match. It's going to be Shazza McKenzie versus Aisha for the Women's Championship. There's going to be Emin Asman versus Robbie Eagles. There's going to be Santiago Silva versus Jarvis. There's going to be an absolute hard-hitting extravaganza with Punch Drunk Istria versus Jake Andrew Arthur. There's going to be the return of Lockie Hendricks. And for the Renegades of Wrestling Championship, it's a Swanston street fight between Rat Daddy and Matt Hayter. That's a hell of an Aussie card.
Yeah, a strong card. Well, it's their first show back for the year, so they're definitely coming with the thunder, as we like to say.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, if you're coming with the thunder, if you're coming with not only thunder, lightning, but all the stars in the sky, you can deliver 5 of them straight to our review section. Head on over to Apple Podcasts, give us a rating, give us a review, show us that you like us and appreciate us. If you're here at twitch.tv/WrestleRadio Australia, make sure you hit the follow button. If you really love what we're doing, hit the subscribe button. That follow button will get you notified whenever we go live. You can also make sure you subscribe to Wrestle Radio Australia. It's free. Do it on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, wherever you get your podcasts. Go subscribe. Follow us on the socials. I am at Lachlan Albert. Todd's at Beast Eastman. That's both on Twitter. You can follow the show on Twitter at Wrestle Radio AU. We're also at Wrestle Radio AU on Instagram and on Facebook. You can just search for Wrestle Radio Australia and find us there. Speaking of searching for Wrestle Radio Australia, you can do it on Redbubble as well to pick up some brilliant Wrestle Radio Australia merch like I'm renting right now. I did see that. Yeah. And the proceeds of that don't go into our pockets. They go to Beyond Blue and Gotcha for Life, two awesome charities that support men's mental health here in Australia. Is there anything else you want to mention?
Just buy that? Did you buy that the other day? Yeah, because I was wondering, because I get the emails when we get sales, I get the emails. I'm like, because I just forward on that money, and I was just like, okay, cool, that's awesome, that's nice,
Yeah. I figured I'd better have one at this point.
Well, I probably should have just bought one and given it to you, but I've been slack. What I was going to say is because I've been talking to and for those of you that are in Queensland. This next Saturday coming up is Pro Wrestling League at the Kedron Wavell.
Project X with the return of the what's it called? The Pro Wrestling
P1 tournament.
Thank you. Yeah, and that show
Yes.
is looking to be absolutely stacked as well. And then is it the following weekend we're going to be up at Wide Bay as well?
Yes, we will be for Fight Back.
Yeah.
Also, March 10th, this is the program note for us here at Wrestle Radio Australia. And Lachlan, you're more than welcome to join me if you wish to on these. But World Series Wrestling, of course, hits next week on March 10th. We'll be doing a post show because all of these shows are live on Fight. So we will be doing the first show, night one post show, and the last night post show as well. So that'll be on the 10th, and the 13th. We'll be doing the post shows for those. I just talked to Adrian today about it, the promoter for World Series Wrestling. So we'll watch those and we'll do a live post show.
Yeah, and I'm a solid maybe for both of those. So
I love solid maybes.
Yeah, you can't get better than that. Well, with that, look, we've had a great time here talking about not only the PWA show Summer of Fudge, which you can get right now on Fight TV if you go to fight.tv.
Yes, please do go and get it too.
PWA. Make sure you support what is really one of the best wrestling companies in the world. They're doing absolutely awesome work. But yeah, on behalf of, did you have something else, Todd?
And it's $15. I mean, yeah, it's $15.
Yeah.
It's less than what you actually pay to go to the show.
Yeah, that's right. Support Aussie wrestling, guys. Support Aussie wrestling.
Yeah, don't be stingy. Don't be stingy.
Don't be stingy. On behalf of Todd Eastman, I've been Lachlan Albert. Till next time, have a good one.